welcome to the Creation Grounds podcast, where we break down the success, habits, and the life of people in creative fields and discover how they've gotten to where they are, what they aspire to be, and how you can live your dreams too. Let's get to the show. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is another episode of the Creation Grounds. I am in the dressing room of Theater 80 right now with a legend, Mr. Allie Woods. What's going on, brother?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
You're from Texas.
That's right, Houston.
Houston, Texas. So tell us about your time spent there and what it was like growing up at that particular time that you did.
Oh, I guess, grew up in a Fourth Ward area called Freedmanstown. Matter of fact, that's my next theatrical project I've got to deal with. Freedmanstown is the area of near downtown Houston where the freed slaves they first settled in Houston, Texas. And so grew up there, went to elementary school in that area, went to Booker T. Washington High School in that area, and then went on to study at Texas Southern University, got out of there, taught in the public schools there, and got into theater there, both in high school, which is where I started, and then I continued on to professional theater there in Houston until I came to New York City.
To New York. And when was the interest in theater developed? Was that in high school?
Yeah, I was in high school. What happened is my mother took me to a major presentation downtown, which was it took place in May of every year. It was a centerpiece of black social activity. A music hall downtown, about 3,000 seats, was always filled up every year with a high school production from my high school, Booker T. Washington. And so I went there, and we went upstairs, set up in the balcony area, and I leaned forward. First time I'd ever been to a play. Leaned forward, and it looked like I was looking down on a dollhouse. I just simply saw people just moving about, full set. Everything was very professional looking, and I simply said to myself, "This is the most wonderful thing." And I just said to myself, well, when this is May, I said, well, coming in September, I'm going to sign up for that drama department, take a class there, and away I went.
Oh, away you went. Mm-hmm. And what was the first production you ever did from there?
I did something called the Great Sebastians. That was a little one-act play, but the first major show I did, which was at that same music hall, I performed there twice. I played an old melodrama called East Lynne, and I played a military officer, a court officer, Captain Francis Livingston of His Majesty's forces, and all that kind of thing. So I had a good time with that. Time I came out on stage and I got that applause because people knew me, some of my friends and everything else. I said, well, this is it.
Yeah. And then from SMU, you went to...
No, not SMU, TSU.
Oh, TSU. Don't get it. Get it
yeah,
right.
SMU is in Dallas now.
It's in Dallas. Right. Houston. Okay. So when you decided to come to New York, when you got here, who was the inspiration to you? Was there an inspiration? Anybody mentor you at all?
I came up here first, and because I had done my first professional work at the professional theater company in Houston, the Alley Theater. And I said, well, let me try New York. I had lots of recommendation from the white actors. And it came up, and I couldn't get arrested. I went everywhere, so forth and so on. The actual first job I did was not too far from here, Cooper Union. Oh. Cooper Union, so forth, up the street here from the theater, and got into a play, and I almost didn't get into it because I went for an audition for this play, and I'm from Houston, Texas, and we don't have much patience, Texans and so forth. And we were waiting around, a room full of people. Guys said, well, I jumped up and got mad, just started fussing and carrying on. Got all loud. This is in New York City, got all loud. And then I was about to leave. Uh-huh. And then the person in charge of came out and grabbed me by both shoulders. Wait. Oh, you're just what we need. My real anger, apparently what they needed for the show, and I was hired on the spot.
Wow, you went
and that kind of thing. So, and I hung around for a little while, couldn't get arrested, and I got a job at the New York City Opera in the chorus. I played a slave, and I said I had enough of that. I came back to Houston, then saw a notice in the Houston papers, the founding of a black theater company, which happened to be the Negro Ensemble Company. I called up here. I just got the number from information. At that time, you could get information. Mm-hmm. And who should answer the phone at that time was someone who's gone on now to fairly great acclaim, Denise Nicholas.
Wow.
And she was working as secretary. and she gave me the information. I shot up here on a plane for an afternoon, auditioned for Douglas 10 Award. Ran into Moses Dunn, if people remember him from The Gangster in Shaft. And he and I went to the same graduate school.
Wow.
And then I was called to say, hey, I had made the cut. So I flew back, and I've been here ever since.
And what year was that?
Oh, what we're talking about? We're talking about 1967.
So that was the origins of NEC. So,
that's right.
Any early NEC stories that you want to share? We all know that NEC has birthed many great talents, from Denzel Washington to Felicia Rashad to Samuel L. Jackson to Giancarlo Esposito, and the list goes on and on and on. Anything that you want to share that you feel comfortable with, either from you directing Denzel and casting him, Adolph Caesar, interactions with him, Sam L. backstage moments, or special convos?
Well, let me go back. Let me correct something, because so many people have the idea, the understanding, I should say, that the Negro Ensemble Company started with the Denzel generation, is the generation of Sam, Jackson, Denzel, Felicia, so on. But the original company started on 67. And we talking about Denise Nicholas, we talking about Rosalind Cash, we talking about Clarice Taylor. We talking about Clarice Taylor, who played Mother Hustable in series and so forth and so on. Moses Dunn, of course, was the Shaft gangster, and this kind of thing. You had 13 members who were the original group, of which I was one: Arthur French, Norman Bush, David Downey, and on and on and on it went. It was tremendous. As I've talked to some of the people who were there at the time, we say you had to be there because every night was like an opening night. There's sometimes later on when people do plays and you're in a long run, so you sort of phone it in. You don't feel like it that day. So you'll hold off until the weekend, when the weekend crowd comes. You couldn't do that because every night you look out there, you might have a representative from Clint Eastwood.
Wow.
Some Sidney Lumet. And they would hire you. I mean, Clarice Taylor got two films off of this, behind this, and that's the role in this kind of thing. So you had to be on top. You had to bring your A game every night. And I suppose we went on tours. We had American tours, we had European tours, and if you talk to any of the original people, the one story that everybody would come up who went on that tour was the incident that we had in London, in which during the course of performing a play, anti-apartheid play called Song of the Lusitanian Bogey, the matinee performance was stopped. Full house at the home of the Royal Shakespeare Company, who was our host. Heil Hitler was screamed out in the audience. Wow. And it stopped us on stage. And I think Rosalind Cash was down front. Some of us were in the back. I was on stage. We yelled at her to keep going, but she couldn't keep going. So they ran the curtain down. Everybody was just upset, particularly the women in the cast, and what we're going to do. What happened is that some skinheads, the skinheads of Britain, who did not like what the play was about, had managed to get into the theater and so forth, and they stood up. We were waiting until the British police would come. They took their own good time, seemingly, to get there. And then later on, we had a performance that night. And we said, what's going to happen? And I was concerned because I had the first individual role in remarks, and I was spotlit. Spotlit with a top hat and everything else and so forth. And I said, I could very well be shot. So when we got there, we ran into this. We ran into a double display. We had protesters surrounding the skinhead protesters. They were circling each other, counter-blocking. So we had to walk among them to get inside of the theater and all that kind of thing. So that was the one story that everybody, if you talk to in the original company who went on that trip, we talk about. We went on from there, from London on to Rome. We toured the United States. We went to Pennsylvania. We went to Atlanta, performed at Spelman, and then went out to Los Angeles. People don't realize that there were other black theater companies at that time, perhaps of equal stature. In Los Angeles, you had the Inner City Repertory Theater. At that time, it was headed by Lou Gossett. Lou Gossett Jr. was one of the main actors in there.
Officer and a Gentleman, right?
Yeah, yes, yes. And in New York, you had the new Lafayette Theater up in Harlem. with Roscoe Orman, who people may see on Sesame Street as Gordon. They had that company.
Wow. And so you've worked with many legends going all the way back, and you've toured the world. I believe that you worked on a lot of August Wilson plays as well, and you've had the great blessing of working and meeting him personally. What was he like in the room, and what will you take the most from him in terms of learning or anything that you'd like to share?
There's a term that's used now, just came up just recently in the past year or so. It's something called the Wilsonian Actor, which refers to black actors who have been in multiple productions of his plays. Not just some of his plays, but multiple productions of each one. And I'm one of those. I think I've done about 11 of these things out of some 7 plays. I think I met up with August when he was auditioning for, I don't know if it was Radio Golf or 2 Trains Running or something. And I stepped into the room, and the room was full of every black character actor in New York City who perhaps was in that room. I said, yeah, but you go in there, if you've been in the business long enough, you don't say to yourself when you see something like that, you haven't got a chance. But you say you got as good a chance as anybody else because they called you in. And we all know any one of us could do it. So it gets down to apples and oranges, peaches and pears. He came running out because he's rewriting as he's spoken and so forth, because he just got so excited. I'm talking about August Wilson, so excited by what the actors were bringing to it, more than what he had written. He was writing on the spot, and he'd come running out with some new monologues that we had not prepared. I said, what is this? And we had to get that ready because he wanted to hear that, and he'd come out and write some more, right there on the spot and this kind of thing. And it was like that. The next time I saw him was at the Edison Hotel, where he tended to stay when he came to New York City, which is, I think it's on 47th Street, I believe, somewhere in there. He was having dinner with his wife and daughter, and didn't speak to him then, but suddenly I spoke to him at that audition piece and so forth, and had a conversation, and met up with his sister, because I played 2 Trains Running in Pittsburgh. And that was something, to do his play in Pittsburgh, to go up there into the Hill District, to the restaurant, which served as the prototype for the restaurant in 2 Trains Running, to the guy who owned the place, who hired Denzel, hired August all those years ago, fired him all those years ago, told us why he fired him, and also the waitress in that restaurant who served as a prototype for the waitress in the play. Wow. We all went up there and bought him out, soul food.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing.
That's incredible, man. Let's talk about legacy, because we're getting some dope, fascinating things, man. You're cemented as a pioneer for American theater.
Who called me a pioneer?
That's me. You heard it here first, man. Or let me just say to me, or I think people.
All right.
You're somebody that you
whatever you say.
You're a legend, man. So you're in African American theater, and I think your picture might even be in African American Theater Museum, or the museum down in Washington, D.C. as part of the Negro Ensemble Company. I haven't been, but I've heard.
Okay.
So you've directed and performed with legends Denzel, his Malcolm X play, which led to the film. You've worked with August Wilson, Felicia Rashad, and many others who are still doing great work in theater, TV, and film. From your observation, working with arguably the best that have done it, is there something that they do that separates them from others, or what makes them special?
Interesting about Denzel, because we did a play called When the Chickens Came Home to Roost, in which he played Malcolm X. And I must mention another actor who's since passed on, Kurt Kirksey, one of the great soldiers of the black theater who came from L.A. and played Elijah Muhammad. And the thing is, when I was holding auditions, and I was getting, thing is, I had this producer in which, if I left up to the producer, Denzel in his mind was 4th choice. I went against the producer, and when Denzel came in to audition for me, because I was getting kind of nervous with my assistant, I said, we're not getting enough young men in that age range, and so forth and so on. And one reason why we weren't getting enough men, because even in this city, in that day and age and time, and even now, there still seems to be this this split between the so-called Malcolm followers and the Muhammad followers and so forth and so on. Some guy just didn't want to come and audition for this. And I was getting nervous. I said, well, how would I cast this thing? The Elijah character was already cast. But when he came in and he did a scene, the air seemed to change. And I had my arms folded, and I turned my head just slowly and looked at my assistant. My assistant slowly swooped his head and looked at me. And the look on our faces said, this is it. And because the air just seemed to change when he did the scene and so forth and so on. And so I said, when he left, I said, okay, that's it. I said, you got his information, contact number, call him immediately, and let's seal this up. Well, it didn't go well with the producer. He wanted me to see some of these other people. And one of whom is on the level now with Denzel. I won't mention his name, but there's three other black actors going to be ahead of him. But because I just had to make a decision quickly, you know my motto, hit it and quit it.
Right. And
this kind of thing. It was like that. And so when he played that play, Spike came over from his days at NYU. Everybody was coming to see that play. I mean, you had turn-away audiences. At the very end, there were fistfights. Because they simply could not get in for whatever reason. The producer could not move it on to another theater, because he could have made bucks, but we had to stop. But people were getting fistfights, argumentative outside the last few performances. Martin Luther King's daughter came. Malcolm X's daughter came.
I heard Muhammad Ali came.
Muhammad Ali came. Specialists who knew who these men came and so forth and so on. And so Spike came, and from what he said, that I guess he'd been thinking about making that movie. He said, here he was, Lord Richards. Came and all that kind of, so he saw that and so forth and so on. I once the film was made, ran into Spike. I was doing an August Wilson play. Where were we? In Pennsylvania, and we met up at some sort of social function. We all dressed up and everything else, and the highlight of that present day was going to be the showing of the film. And so he and I got together, and we were talking about the fact that how that's what got him to use Denzel. You see how fortunate it was? If I had been persuaded by the producer to go with those 1, 2, 3 choices, and Denzel had not gotten in, Spike would not have seen him.
Right.
All of it is about luck and being there at the right time and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
Wow, you are responsible for.
If you want to put it like that, the idea is that my attitude about it, as you very well know, is if you put me in charge, then get out of my way because I'm moving.
Right.
And so forth. And I didn't want to sit around and just talk about it.
So is that special something, the air changing you called it, something you believe can be learned and cultivated by young artists?
Oh no, I don't know if it can be cultivated. Some people have it. I guess some people would call it presence.
Right.
This kind of thing or whatever. There are some actors who come into the room and you can feel the force. You feel that presence. It's presence, and certainly when they open their mouths and start to speak, I've seen it from time to time. Not every person has it, but it perhaps can be developed. There are actors who are hired who don't have that, who manage perhaps as they evolve. Mm-hmm. And get into the role and juice and so forth and so on, and become ingratiated in that, can evolve into that. But in this case, and so it's just simple. I wonder whether or not he resonated with me because at that time, as I said, I was running out of young men to play this thing. But I think not. I just think that he really, when he came in and just simply, as I said, my assistant and I, we eyeballed each other quietly. And we both knew that, and I have seen that assistant since, and we reminisce about that, not that day, that moment. That moment. I said, the time he left, I said, get your information. You get hold of him now. Seal this up now. And then I went to deal with the producer who was not happy, but I said, wait until you see the guy and hear the guy. To the producer's credit, later on after it opened and so forth, he came to me and he apologized. And he said, Allie, you were right. He was wondrous. And look what he's become.
Yeah. So what have you changed your mind on in the last few years, and why?
What have I changed my mind on?
It could be anything from life principles or just anything.
I think when I came up, like so many of you all, I was the driving actor. Looking around for every piece of work I could get into. Just get on that stage, and so forth, and show my stuff, and all that. But as the years have gone by, I'm moving more towards the directorial end of it and so forth. I think in recent years I can see better. You talk to any director, you bring this up and see what you have to be able to see to visualize the thing, so you can tell all of the various designers and what you have in mind to say the actors and anything else. And I think that's perhaps been the change. I'm still an actor, but I don't lust after it like a young actor does, and so like you must. Certainly when you get to this city where the competition is so fierce. But the directing thing, I think, more so than anything, I look for. I have a directing project after this, and I have one after this, after that, and I'm working on another project, a major project after that. But it's all directorial and writing things and so forth and so on. I want to create, because when I was a producer also in Houston, and one of the things that really appealed to me is that I produced Happy Ending and Day of Absence. And it was at Rice University. Felicia Rashad was in it at the time. She had a maiden name at that time. And in the back of the house, I looked up at the stage, and all these people were roaming around and so forth. And I felt a sense of accomplishment because everybody was there because I decided to do something. I decided I'm going to put these plays on, and they were being paid. Mm-hmm. I saw that they got paid. I said, people are getting money. I mean, I get the money that you want, but they're getting paid and everything because so in some ways, a director, producer can do that, obviously, when an actor can't, unless that actor is also a producer. So you see now in a lot of these movies and television, so a number of actors are going at actors / producer.
Yeah.
Pushing their own work, certainly in terms of the women. Right. And surely they must.
For sure.
Yeah.
What should an actor who wants to act in something you're directing know? You're going to work on a couple projects. Sound words for the audition room. You talk about presence. If they don't have that presence, what can they do to be in an Allie Woods project? Especially if they're not from the major markets like New York or LA, what can they do to hone their craft or something like that?
Yeah, I worked in a lot of regional theater, from Denver to Montgomery, Alabama, to Houston, Seattle. There are any number of fine actors who apparently I spoke to them. They want no part of New York. They're content to stay where they are. They realize that they won't, staying there, they won't reach major stardom, but they tell me that they want to have a life. They want to be married, have children, have a home, not have to put up with these insane rental prices that we got here in New York and everything else and so forth. Drive a car, have a yard, and go to church, and not be lusting after the thing that being in the business is just a business. It is not just driving force of your life,
right,
and things like this. And but in terms of somebody coming to see me, because I'm dealing with this now in terms of I'm having to cast from a distance. I'm having to use an artistic director down in Houston to do the most of the casting for me. And when I'm down there, because they may bring me back to do something else, some of them know me. What am I looking for? I'll have them either bring in a piece from the play that I'm going to deal with, or have them bring in a scene of their own. Sometimes I'll have them do both, because then if I have them bring the scene of their own, you go by what did they choose and why did they choose that? and so forth. I've even advised, for instance, some black women. I said, avoid bringing in the big scene from Fences.
Right.
I said, too many of y'all come. I said, you drive me crazy here now with this thing about this. I've been here. I've been right here with you, Troy. I said, I heard it to death now. I've been right here with that damn monologue too. So I said, what you should do, bring something in which, okay, this may answer your question, that you don't think that the auditioner has heard. I would tell people, avoid bringing in a classical piece. To be or not to be, that is the question, please. Avoid bringing in Friends, Roman countrymen, lend me your ears, please. Bring in something which will force the auditioners to pay attention to you.
Right.
So forth and so on. Or, if you, for instance, you're a woman, and you want to use a piece that ordinarily associated with a man, you might do it. Bring in something that they will remember. You remember that girl who did that thing? Because it goes like that on the other side of the table. There's so many people coming for you. It's all about. You remember that girl who did that? You remember that guy who did that? The other piece? No, not that film Roman Coming, but the other piece from that August Wilson thing from Two Trains Running. It's like that. I would advise, bring pieces in, prepare pieces which are off the beaten track, so that the auditioners will pay attention to you, and this kind of thing, and take your time. I said, so many people don't know how to audition, and set it up. They only give you like about 3 minutes. You can do quite a bit in 3 minutes of what. Introduce the piece. I tell them to do this. Turn your back on the auditioners.
During the monologue, or
turn your back before you start. They don't expect that. They don't expect that. Therefore, they will pay attention because you're doing something they don't expect. Start the scene. You can hum, sing, if that's what it is, and so forth. But then when you make a go around and then come back around in character to them and so forth. Come on. You may even start the scene while your back is turned, but come back around in character and deal with it like that. I want to. One of my colleagues from the NDC days ran up to me when I had Denzel in Chickens, and she wanted to get after me because she was referring to directing 101, which they tell you the strongest thing about an actor is to be face front. And also you can see his face and everything else and all that kind of stuff. And she was complaining, Allie, you had his back turned. And he turned back and so forth. I said, yes, I did, so and so. But that's not the way it's going to. That's not the real strength. I said, no, yes, it is, because I said this. I said, have you paid attention to Denzel's back? Have you paid attention to Denzel's walk, his strut? Now, I've heard this since that time. A lot of women and so forth, talk about his strut before he reached 60.
Right.
Now he's 60. They don't talk about his strut in his back anymore. but they were talking about his strut and everything. I said, that's what I was after. He has a strong, solid back, which was more powerful than his facing front at that particular part of the scene.
Right.
So forth and so on. So you go. So I'm saying that will force people to pay attention to him, so forth, which is the same thing I'm doing with Horace.
Right.
In terms of that's why I set him up like that. His back, the fact that who is this mystery man? He's going to say something? He's going to do something? You pay attention to him. The idea is to do something when you come into an audition piece that gets the people to pay attention to you, to remember you. Sometimes it gets to be what you wear.
Right.
The colors that you wear. Clothes. I've had folk talk. This is a white artistic director. We had a meeting, and I think I had on something purple, burgundy, something like this, and he's come talking to me. Oh, well, you blokes can wear those bloody colors so well, and he paid before we even talked.
Right.
That had gotten his attention. So all these kinds of things, I'd say, be aware of it. And some of these kinds of things I'm talking about are not taught in some of these classes in New York and anything else. They'll teach you in terms of script analysis and stuff like that. But in terms of what I'm talking about here, movement, walk, or using your back, or knowing how to audition, I don't know if they get into that. There's a lot of classes out in Hollywood, they talk about cold readings, because that seems to be the thing. They'll call you in out there, hand your script just like that. You've never seen it before, and they fully expect for you to come up with a characterization on the spot. So therefore, the whole proliferation of cold reading workshops and people who just teach you cold reading to deal with that reality. It's like that.
And when you think of a great creative artist, who is the first person that comes to mind and why?
One of what comes to mind is Paul Robeson.
Mm-hmm.
He's got. Remember what he said about his. Because I looked at his work and the fact that how he was victimized in terms of the McCarthy era, and he took his passport away. He couldn't make a living. He tried to go overseas and all that kind of, but he hung in there, and this kind of thing. And one of his favorite lines from what he quoted himself saying that his favorite line is from Shakespeare's Othello. And I said, that would be a fine line for any actor, certainly a black actor, or any actor. He says, I have done the state some service, and they know it. I think I said that line somewhere before, and I sort of piggybacked on that. And I said this, I think it was something I sent in and I wrote in. I have done the stage some service, and I know it.
Wow. It's incredible. What projects are you working on next? Can you discuss them now?
I've got doing prep work here now on a play which I'm going to stage in Houston, the title of which is called In All Thy Getting, The Forgotten Story of Freedmanstown. Freedmanstown is also full. Houston, Texas is broken up into wards, sitting among black folks into living. And one of the first areas that slaves in Houston was that area, fourth ward, called Freedmanstown. That's why it's called Freedmanstown. And characterized by brick streets. Not all the streets, but brick streets and so forth, because the powers that be, the white powers that be, refused to pave the streets. Mm-hmm. So the slaves, the men, they went out and got some bricks and bricked the suckers down. Wow. And why am I after that? In that place, that's where I'm from. I'm from that ward. I'm from Freedmanstown, and this is sort of my Valentine to that area. Just like, if you remember, just a few weeks ago, the Academy Awards, the brother who won for Moonlight, they're all from Liberty City. Both those guys, the one who wrote the script, the director, and also the head of the Alvin Ailey Company. All those three guys are from the Liberty City neighborhood. Wow. I said, so in my way, I'm from the Freedmantown in Houston, Texas, and so forth. So I'm doing that, and then I will be going off to the National Black Theater Festival, where they're honoring me as a living legend. Second time as a living legend.
So it's not just me that thinks that, man. You know, brother. Come on, man. You're the OG, man.
I'll be directing some readings. Matter of fact, hopefully I'll direct a play by one of your cast members here. And then I'm working on a police project. Nice. I've been profoundly, as all of us have, been profoundly disturbed by what's happening to these shootings and victimizations and everything else down there. So I'm trying to put together a stage piece dealing with police, and particularly black police, because I know one of my classmates he's the head of a police family, an all black police family in Houston, Texas. He's a retired assistant district attorney. Mm-hmm. And I've been interviewing him. We go and have lunch, and once I get all the information together, I'm going to see whether or not something can come from that. I'm not sure. I'm just collecting to see if anything evolves out of that in which I can put them on stage and let them talk either through breaking the fourth wall or having a conventionally style play. So that's what's up.
And how can people contact you? I know you're not big on social media, but you have an email.
I'm a dinosaur on social media.
Come on, man.
And you got now you've got my numbers on the contact sheet.
Right.
That's the only way it is. And it used to be when there was such a thing as phone books.
Right.
I'm in the phone book. I mean, I don't know. Just as Woody King is. A lot of us in the phone book, we didn't duck and dodge like that. But oddly enough, we didn't get people weren't calling us like that. They got to us through folk like yourself, people who know us, and this kind of thing, and like that. And Charles Weldon and West of them who run the NEC and all this kind of thing. But this is what it was. But I would be also when I go down to Houston, I'll be dealing with somebody named Steve Carter. Who is Steve Carter? Steve Carter was at NEC when we were there. And he and I get together and we said this, and perhaps we can end it right here. And he said, we both agreed. If we're talking to somebody like yourself, you had to be there in terms of NEC in 3 years. People, as I said, Clint Eastwood, people would come. You had Robert Ryan, the movie star, would come in there. Bill Russell, the basketball player, came and so forth. And you're looking out from the stage, and you got to see Bill Russell. He's 6'9", for God's sake.
Yeah.
And it kind of, you know they're there. R.C. Davis and Ruby Dee, they came backstage and so forth. We were there. We were there the night that King got hit.
Wow.
And that caused almost a fist fight.
Yeah.
Within the company and so forth. In that, and then some of us were taken home. I was staying up in Harlem, and we drive. I jumped into a pickup truck, and we drove. Time we hit 110th Street, we saw the fires. There were fires all over Harlem.
Yeah.
Windows were being broken. And we saw black people, guys, they're running down the streets, not empty-handed. They didn't just have clothes and everything else. They were running down the streets, and they were with sofas.
Oh, man.
With beds,
Yeah.
mattresses.
Yeah.
They had broken the windows of some of the local stores and so forth and so on. It was surreal. It looked like something a movie set. Somebody had just set this up and was filming this thing somewhere.
Right.
That was a night. And who in that audience that night? Amira Baraka.
Oh, wow. Well, the player, Dutchman, yep. Yeah. That's incredible, man. Well, OG, legend, whatever you want to call it. Allie Woods.
Don't you stop.
Thank you, man, for coming on. And,
all right.
I hope the audience loves this.
Okay.
That's it for this episode of The Creation Grounds. I'm your host, Aaron Lloyd. Be sure to check out our Instagram for future and previous guest info, and check out our YouTube channel in the show notes below. Email us with any suggestions at thecreationgrounds@gmail.com. And if you got something out of this, I'd really appreciate if you spread the word and the love. Until next time, this is Aaron Lloyd telling you that the sky is the limit. Stay creative.